I'm gonna talk about monetizing and converting non-paying users into customers or paying users, whatever you want to call them. We're gonna go through the user funnel. I think Felipe Reisberger has discussed and talked a lot about that before, so pretty familiar now. Then I'm going to go into new ad models and the newfound interest of advertisers in games and the gaming audience. And then how we can use that to convert and monetize non-paying users. So this is a simple version of a lot that Felipe has discussed in the previous presentation. We know that basically we put a lot of new users, we acquire those users whatever way. Those users try at first, sometimes they'll click, you'll lose them, sometimes they'll stick. And the goal is always to bring those users down here. I don't know if you can read it, but this is first time payer, and down here in the bottom is a whale. So product managers, payment managers have teamed up for a long time, tried to figure out ways of converting those users. So basically squeezing this upper part of the funnel, trying to get the users down here a lot quicker. Some users will trickle down quicker than others, some will not at all. The problem with that is that a lot of those users will just decide not to pay. So maybe you're squeezing the funnel, you're squeezing someone out. The funnel's full of holes, basically. When you try to do that in the shortest time. So for example, when you're trying to make resources scarce, it's great. So Felipe talked about users missing the bus or trying to pay, which users would pay to get the bus to arrive immediately. They have been waiting for a while. 10% of those users would, but what about the other 90% that wouldn't? So if you try to delay the bus, it might be that you'll lose some of the users right there. So we're talking about like this 10% here, right? Those are the 10% of the users, and that's the sole focus of our product managers and of our payment managers. Sorry. But what about the other 90%? And when I talk about 90%, I'm basically averaging that out. It might be that you have a simple casual game or social game, and you're not going to make even 1% of those users, transition those 2% of the users into paying users. But if you're a browser game developer, you might be on the upper side, so 90% non-paying users. Some social games as well, like Kicksai, for example, have some very successful games, and they're able to generate more than some of the other games, like from Zynga, namely, that have 10 times their traffic with, and they're still generating more money than them. At the same time, we're observing, and we all know that games are on the rise. That has been the cause of, or the source has been social games back in 2008, since then, and more recently mobile games. But we still see that the problem with non-paying users is still there, even though the graph is going up. The paying users are still going at the same proportion, not really becoming a lot better on that. So at the same time, with this huge rise in traffic, we see that advertisers start gaining an interest again into the space. So one of the main criteria for advertisers to invest in such a space or a medium is to have volume. Before, we had console games, but we still didn't have a lot of gamers in the space. Social and mobile brought a lot of the attention to that. And just a few facts: ad spend in social games increasing year on year, 65% the past few years. Still, that doesn't speak a lot to advertisers, but when you compare that to a more traditional medium, that does. So in this chart, you can see the biggest games, or some of the biggest games, social games in the space. At the time it was created, compared to some of the most famous sitcoms in the US. Not sure they're famous in Europe, but Two and a Half Men with Charlie Sheen, and now I don't know his name, Ashton Kutcher. And you can see that Farmville has a lot more audience than they do, even though advertisers are paying millions and millions of dollars and euros every year to be, displayed for 30 seconds within those sitcoms, when most people just stand up and go grab a beer or eat something, go to the restroom, whatever. And here is just some Zynga revenue development. I talked about the 90% versus 10%. Zynga, being one of the biggest gaming companies out there, still has problems monetizing their users. They're buying traffic like crazy, and still looking into that, they've actually decreased their revenues from Q3 2011 to Q3 2012 by 1%. But when you look at the revenues from advertising, so the revenues they're making from those 90% plus users that are not paying at all, they've increased by 64%. So there's still a big problem, because there's a misconception about gamers out there. So when I'm talking to this audience, you all know who your gamers, your users are. And when I talk about to mobile developers or social developers, they all know. But advertisers have no clue. So and the common person out there will not have a clue. So what we have to do is to change that. And here is a more actual, that's actually what it is. So if you look at gamers as an audience, social and mobile have shifted completely the demographics of the game. And even though for this audience, like developers of browser games, you might still have users that are kind of in this category, or this demographic here. But what happens is that by this huge surge of users in mobile and in social, the whole demographics is shifted towards more female and older, and thus advertisers decide to invest. So you need two things, right? You need the right demographics, and you need volume. That's how you're going to track the big brands, the brands that have the power to spend. So the Coca-Colas, the soda companies, the house brands, that's how you're going to track them. Before, it was more of a niche thing. So right now, when we talk to advertisers, we can actually sell them a channel. We can say that, with some mobile games, some browser games, or some social games, are going to be able to target the female older than 35 years old. At the same time, if we get some Haribo ad, we're going to be able to display with, showing to users that are a lot younger. So when I was talking about hating ads in games, that's what I was talking about. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that's from Massive. And I don't see the point in that. I mean, the guy might be mugging, robbing the guy, the person out of his vehicle, but with soft hands. I don't know, but it doesn't fit, right? This is that's a much better version, but still it's in console, and at least it has like a property within the game that a user can interact with. Those are very popular. Banners and portals, they started with casual gaming. Some of those casual gaming portals rely 100% on advertising. The problem with that is that it's not really a premium placement, which means advertisers will not pay a lot for it. There's a very important thing in advertising that's called 100% share of the screen. And that means that advertisers want to be the only brand displayed at one time. And that's really not possible when you try to maximize the number of banners you have on the side, on top, hidden pop-ups, pop-banners, whatever, within the same property. I don't know if you all know this case, was pretty famous in the US. McDonald's partnered with Farmville, and they created when you're playing Farmville, you can help your neighbors, so on their farms. What McDonald's did, they created a farm with Zynga, and users could help out with cores and so on. And the difference with this was that the user didn't see anything except for a little banner asking them if they would like to help McDonald's. It's really non-disruptive, so it's not there all the time. It's something that's related to the game. It's user activated, so the user decides if he wants to interact with the advertising, which is an in-game advertising in this case, and it's also rewarded. So once the user helped out in the farm, he received that little red balloon to keep. So it doesn't do anything, but it looks good. And for a limited period of time, everything became easier within the game. So it was a boost. They were able to do things faster within the game. Still, so the interest is there. And even though I'm talking to this audience, it's important to ask, does it make sense for advertisers to work with this model? Is it sustainable? That's the hard thing to sell, right? Advertisers still think about that, little boy full of pimples playing, skipping school to play hardcore MMO type of games, and they don't really see the value. But that's changing. It's changing very quickly. So if you look at the numbers, 22% of consumers that were exposed to that kind of non-disruptive in-game advertising had a far more positive view of the brand. The brand was actually giving them something. 32% increased in likelihood of purchasing from that brand, and a very, very high increase in the likelihood of visiting the brand website. And if the user visits the brand website, the brand website also has product manager. The brand also has product managers that will do the best to engage the user in a very good way. Those are just some of the advertisers we work with. A lot of them are very innovative in looking into the space, and they all have really big budgets to spend in branding. So how can you do that? How should you show brands to your users? I mentioned banners. You can do that definitely. You can have a company work with you, providing with you with in-game, let's say, virtual goods that are customized. That involves a lot of effort and time, and it doesn't really scale very well. But one thing that works is having your user do something in exchange for receiving, a virtual good or virtual currency within your game, or a premium experience, more time, or getting that bus to arrive, immediately, if you wish. This is one example. It's one of our products, and there are several products from other companies out there as well that are very similar. The way it works is the publisher and the user engages with the game at one point in time. It can be when he logs in, or between levels, or when he runs out of energy, runs out of coins. You know it best. He's presented with a call to action. So, would you like to earn something? Or would you like to speed up or get the bus to arrive immediately? So Felipe said that 10% of the users would pay for the bus to arrive immediately. I can tell you that 60 to 80% of the users will watch a video to get that bus to arrive immediately, depending on the game. So the light box pops up, the user watches a commercial or a movie trailer, or he engaged with the brand in a certain way within your game. He gets something. And one thing to that, I'll talk about this in a bit. So that brings you revenues, obviously, from a user that would not pay otherwise. When I talk about stickiness, you know that if the user has something within his inventory or his account, his wallet, he's more likely to come back and spend it. If he doesn't have anything, you're more likely to lose him. So by having that virtual good there that has a monetary value attached to it, he's more likely to come and use it, right? You don't want to have that virtual good go to waste. And a spillover effect. If you have a small game, you're just starting, if you're linking that to a brand that's really well known and respected, you might actually have a spillover effect. So some of that positive view on the brand might spill over to your game. We usually think that the opposite happens, and it does. That's why, you know, brands are very, very careful selecting what kind of games they want to work with, because they want that positive spillover to come from your game to their brand. The other way around works as well. And this here, you cannot see very well. But this specific model or example, the user watches the video, he gets credited immediately, but at the same time, he can click on the button. It's asking him if he wants to get more gold and explaining him how he's directed to the payment page. So it's a user that was not paying before. So you know that user was not paying because you're targeting him. You show him something, he earns something, so he already wants that something. He wants virtual currency, he wants the virtual good. At that specific moment, you present him with an option to pay. And you can attach a bonus to it. You can say, pay right now and it will give you an additional 30%. You know that that user is already very interested in earning something because he already went through through this whole process just to get something. This is another model. That's another product, our oldest product called OfferWall. It's basically a list of offers that a user can complete. They can be surveys, registrations. You'll have videos there as well. Trial for products like Netflix or LoveFilm. Maps are there, or purchases. What you can do is the same. You can have an offer. So you know that those users in the offer wall, they're already more engaged. So I'd say that the ones on brand engaged, the ones that are watching the videos, they're the ones that are on top of the funnel. You don't want to present any ads to the users that are in the very top layer, because you might lose them. So once you know they're coming back to the game, you can show them videos. Then they get more interested, they need more currency. Some of those users will pay, so they can pay for the premium experience within the game. Some will still not, but they might watch a video, or they might complete register for a website or complete a survey, so they'll have that bigger package of virtual goods or virtual currency. What you can do is replace the top offer of the offer wall with an offer from you that will pay the user an additional 10, 20%, 30% of any payment he completes at that moment, if he decides to do so. And another one is an interstitial that's on top of the offer wall that can also be used as this as a tool to drive the user to the payment shop. This is a case study done with Gameforge. It's a bit outdated. Wasn't really planning on including this one on this presentation. But the outcome is what I like to show you. 16.4 of Gameforge's non-paying users who completed at least one offer from us converted into paying users within the next 12 months. So those users were non-paying exclusively. And so Gameforge knew, okay, those users will not pay, there's no way. What happened is that but it would still decide to spend some time and complete an offer. So, as I said, complete a survey, register for a website, and the thing is that obviously the user receives something in exchange for that. They use it, they then get a taste for what they can do within the game with that extra boost, and they know that they want more. So we have most of those users coming back and completing offers, more and more offers, but at one point they get tired of it and they just start paying. And 16.4% of those actually did. And the best thing is that they don't just pay once, so some of them do. And again, those users would not have paid. So 41% pay once, and the rest, so the majority, will pay a number of times. Up in the end is actually bigger than in the middle. Those are some of the partners we work with. Right now, I think we have 300 and something publishers, more than 1,000 applications and games working with us.
All right.
All right.
I guess
Perfect.
that's it.
Thank you.